calling towards God is one of the most prestigious and best jobs that you could do. It's one of the tasks where you are immensely paid on the day of judgment, because you could never really estimate nor will you be able to measure the benefits that you're doing for the world and for those people that listen to the call of the caller. It's literally one of the tasks that the prophets and the messengers had to wholeheartedly do at all times. Call towards God and call towards the good religion that God has bestowed upon man for us to be a good society and for us to be good human beings. Now you as an individual, there's rules to the game, as people say. There's rules to the task and there's rules for this employment. In a sense where, one, you cannot sell the verses of God, and B, it really has to be something that you're called towards. Everyone has an opportunity to remind and teach, but only a certain few people understand what it takes to really interact with the masses and with individuals on a way to explain the concept of God and how to submit yourself to the will of God. And they also possess the knowledge and the wisdom on how to answer people's questions, especially in the fact where today in this day and age, there's so many falsehood. Obviously, people who are watching this channel know that the Quran and Islam, or submission to God, is the truth. This is the only way you get through in life. Now, unfortunately, in this day and age with these online platforms, there's been a group of people that came within the last 2 decades in regards to the fact on how people should be calling towards God, which in Arabic is called Dawa. That means a calling. They're calling towards God in a way where it's not measured, where it's not smart, it's not full of wisdom. Especially if somebody does actually come and try to challenge their intellect, somebody who's a little better than them. What they try to do is bully them off the scene. They try to bully them, shut them up, and they act like a mafia. Because for them, unfortunately, they did the number one rule that you can't break, that the messengers and the prophets are not allowed to break, and if they broke it, they would be in a lot of trouble. They are selling the word of God. To them, the Dawa industry, the calling towards God, is an industry. It's a business for them. Just like how it is a business for me, but my business is that I want to get paid on the day of judgment. I want 0 cents from you now. I want no thank you from you. I want nothing from you in return. If you do see the light, if you do submit yourself to God, and if you do wholeheartedly connect yourself with God, with nobody in the middle. This is exactly what the calling is about. But yet they opt to make it into a business where they get paid now, where their social status and their appearance online and their personality is something that should be marketed. And for them in return, they open these institutes and open these platforms for them to make money out of it. It's something that's very sad, because they are literally selling the word of God, and at the end they're just going to eat the fire. That's what they're eating in their stomach. That's what they're consuming. But they don't see it this way, because for them it's literally their livelihood.
You know what my my new next level fantasy to fruition? I don't teach at all. I'm not scheduled to teach at all. Someone is outsourcing all of our classes, and I show up to what I want. I believe now you all have a setup, $500,000 company. I don't like to throw numbers around, but you have a setup company with infrastructure. You guys, I mean, if it's the path that you would like to have as a side thing, then start teaching, start getting trained, come to live classes and just sit in and see. Because I figured it, as impossible as I feel like, oh, no one can teach like me, you can. So I think about it. I think I would like to see if someone come in, and it'll be hard to find someone who can master all of them and teach like level, but I think there's someone who could come in and make bank just learning the level 1, teaching people how to read from scratch. So yes, yeah, I look forward to that. That's my next level, inshallah. Oh, we didn't even clap or nothing. Excuse me, Bilal. Hear it for the first time. Surah Nur, ayah 1 through 5. 1 to 3. 1 to 3, Surah Nur.
Now, one thing that I want you to understand, that for very many years, people used to undertake a proper employment. So they had their businesses, they had their trade, they did what they had to do in the real life, get a legal job or a legal employment to provide a service for them to get paid, for them to eat, and to provide for their family. This is different for the messengers and the prophet, but most of these people on the Dawa scenes, they're not messengers and they're not prophets. So they don't have the ability, or they don't have the right to make it a full-time job, or in a sense that for them to keep moving forward, for them to get paid. But at the same time, because it's an online medium, you do need services and you need to know a little bit of know-how on how the internet works for you to set up these businesses these people are setting up. But yet the majority of them that don't have a background in computer programming or internet engineering, they really don't know the damage that they're causing both to themselves and to their communities, because they don't have the ability to make a single platform where their courses and whatever they're doing is distributed to the people in a way where it only benefits them. In fact, a lot of these people, they just jump on other people's platforms. These platforms are set up with business in mind, they're commerce related, and they benefit the company that's on top of them. So for example, you have Daniel Hakikachu's institute, which is Al Asna Institute. He has no problem sitting online and discussing the terrible things that Zionism is and what Zionism does to the society, and at the end of the day, he's boycotting Zionism or anything to do with Zionism and anyone who supports Zionism. But yet, because he does not know how to build an LMS, a learning management system, and host his own solution for him to get 100% of the cut, he's working with a company that's called ThinkFing. It's a company that's based in Vancouver, Canada, that has no problem hosting his platform and for him to sell the word of God, how to read the Quran and how to understand the Quran and how to deal with the Quran for whatever price that he wants to sell it at, and the company gets a cut. But that company has also no problem teaching you or allowing companies to teach you on what Zionism is and how Zionism should be and how Jews and Zionism are pretty much the same thing. So that company that has no filter, because to them it's all about business, is supporting the Muslim and supporting the Zionist. I'm pretty sure if Hakikachu has an understanding and sees this, he might change the way that he's doing things, but he fell in the trap because he actually doesn't know what he's doing. And a lot of these people, they just jump on these platforms instead of building their own because this is what they think is the easy way. They just want the easy, quick way, as the majority of those people that want a quick hustle, almost a side hustle, but it's their full-time job. And a very good example is Ali Dawa, who has now 1.23 million subscribers. He's very good at marketing other people's products. Like literally, here's Quranly app, which is on sale for 70%. Come buy the book of God. Come, give me money for the book of God. Obviously, I don't know if Ali Dawa works with Quranly or if he's just an affiliate and he's just taking a cut from it. But whatever it is, this is nonsense. This is not something that you should be doing.
This is a message saying this app has been such a game changer to me. I've never been so consistent with my Quran reading before I knew about Quranly. And you can get Quranly absolutely free, no credit cards, for 7-day free trial. What are you waiting for? Download it now, brothers and sisters, and build a habit with the Quranly app right now. You can find the link for iOS and Android in the link description below.
If you have hosting charges and hosting fees, that's different. You are charging for the hosting, but here they're actually using it for profit and benefiting it. That's why it's a promotion. That's why it's 70% off, because it's not about the hosting fee and them collecting back their money that they have to put up front. But that's not where it stops. Ali Dawa, who again is not a computer programmer, is not a person that understands how app development works, nor he understands how much an app really costs. He's also trying to push you to donate to a cause where they're building an app to teach you to learn how to do salah, Quran and wudu. Now, you can order guided mats. You could book salah instructors, as if you need an instructor, and to book an instructor to learn how to do salah. And you could book Quran instructors. You could watch videos showing you how to pray, but yet you could book the salah instructor. You could find their local salah hubs and get salah reminders. And an ad-free Qibla finder, okay? Ad-free, because he's not about the ad. Well, how much are you looking for this project, Ali Dawa? Oh, well, they're looking for about $10,000, $12,000 for literally a data app. So it's just literally collecting information and passing it off to you, and people are charging you. This app is extremely simple. Like, this app should not take more than a weekend to do from what they listed there, because I'm pretty sure that these instructors are going to have a chat feature and they're going to have a video, either pre-recorded or a live conversation, which is going to probably happen outside of the app. And then you have the videos that are hosted on a different platform. You put them on this app, and then whatever other information there is just the echo chamber of what they usually say. There isn't much thought that needs to be put into this app, and this app can be accomplished with $2,000. I've been making apps and websites since 2006. I understand how much this takes, and it does not take $10,000 at all, nor will it take even $5,000 to get this done with what's available now in the marketplace. Okay, so this is things that they don't care about. that they're literally just using the religion a way to profit. While the people who are actually dedicating themselves to the word of God and how to teach the religion, they're doing it from themselves, from their own entity, from their being. This is called jihad. This is something that the Prophet taught us to do. So my viewers sometimes send me emails, and one of my brothers, Mustafa, he sent me an email in regards to a video that he watched and it bothered him. And honestly, I watched part of it and it bothered me too. That this is why I'm making this video, because I could just kind of clearly see where this video is going to go to. I watched maybe half of it, a little less than half, but I want to watch it together with you to discuss some of the things that they're doing. Now you can clearly see this person named Riyadh, which I think the Dawa people kind of like went into a whole drama because of him, because a few months ago or almost a year ago, where this man made a video and one of the Dawa guys did not agree with his point of view, so he started to put him down in this long content form video, and someone else came to his defense and they went at each other, which is something so alien to me. I don't understand it. If I'm me and some people are calling towards God and we have a disagreement, and there's a lot of Quran alone people that are putting content that I don't agree with, but I never sat there and put them on a spotlight to put them down, because to me it just does not make sense. If there is a infighting between our understandings and our religion, we try to deal with it one-on-one. We might have a discussion, we might have a debate, but I'm not going to make a whole content putting somebody on a spotlight to put him down as if I am better than him. This is not something that I will ever do, nor will you ever catch me doing, unless if it's something that's extremely drastic where the person is committing blasphemy against God and his messengers. Then that person to me is not a believer at that point. That person is completely deluded and he has a different agenda where he might not even understand that he has an agenda. But with that said, things went back to normal as they usually do with the Dawa drama scene, and then now he's making these content. But let's see. So the video's title is "This Mistake Can Cost You Your Akhirah." So your whole life, everything that you did, this single mistake can cost you everything. That you're going to go to hell if you don't listen to this gentleman. That this man has this secret knowledge of something that you could be doing that you're unaware of that can put you to hell. And he's not talking to disbelievers, and he's not talking to Christians and Jews. He is targeting the Sunni youth, the Sunni people, okay? And he himself is, I believe, is quite young. So let's watch it together, and I want to comment to some of the stuff he says.
When I first started studying in Mauritania, I remember having a lot of conversations with my sheikh. And there was a particular question that really stuck with me. And I said to him at the time, "Sheikh, if a Muslim has a question, let's say for example they've just finished praying and they realize that they accidentally added an extra unit, what should they do to rectify that prayer?"
You see how I don't like the question when they ask me how do you pray? Because they made the prayer in something where it's a choreographed dance, where if you do an extra step, now you need to rectify yourself. Now you've done something that's a sin, that's not acceptable, that is bad, so go fix yourself. You did something that's a no-no, you did not pray. It's not about the Quran, it's not about the recitation, that's just part of it. But its whole purpose is about these moves and how many units that you're doing, which is not what prayer is at all. My understanding of prayer is much different than that. Imagine somebody coming to you and you're going, "Hey, my sheikh in the mosque said that I have to donate 2.5% of my money. But I made a mistake and I donated 4.5%. What should I do to rectify myself?" Brother, you did good. You did great. You did an extra unit in your prayer. That's amazing. You did more for yourself on the day of judgment. You're going to be happy that you prayed longer. Oh, you didn't. You missed a unit in your prayer. That's fine. No worries. As long as you prayed. Because the task, as God told us to do, is to pray. Oh, you prayed for a minute? Well, that's not really enough time for you to actually pray.
Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanir rahim maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alakum bidaka hatta zurtum maqabir kala sabata ala nas ma kala sabata ala kala ta'ala ni'ma yakin tarawna al-jahim qala ta'ala yakin sumala tasaluna yawma idin anin na'im. Allahu Akbar. Sami'a Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
You should be focusing on the Quran in the prayer. That's the whole point of the prayer. But to them, it's literally like, "Hey man, I made an extra unit. I'm in trouble." So yeah, I don't need a sheikh, or nobody should need a sheikh for them to rectify themselves if they prayed more. But to them, this is how the religion has become. It's this chore-based religion that if you don't do the chores in the exact same way that they told you to do them, you're in trouble with God. God is here to measure your rain dance. He's not here to hear what you're saying or to guide you into what you're reading. He's here to watch you do a rain dance. You astaghfirullah al-azim, you're entertaining him. You're just a jester doing these moves that you have to do in a certain way, and if you don't do them, you're in trouble. God is not entertained at that point.
Or let's say that Muslim has a question on the rational proofs of Allah's existence because maybe they doubt Allah's existence. Or let's say
Okay, so if a Muslim is doubting God's existence, in that moment the person is not Muslim because he cannot submit to something that he's doubting its existence. How is someone going to be a submitter if he doubts God's existence? This is not something that a sheikh could solve. You know why? Because it's a problem within the person. The person has to hear it from many different people, from his friends, from his family, from his relatives, from the closest people to him. If it's even his teacher trying to teach him, that's fine. But this is not something that is just the person in a mosque that can solve that. Because nobody's going to guide him to God. God is going to guide him to God. And if the person is literally doubting the fact that this world did not have a creator, then I'm sorry, but this person is extremely blind. This person has such problems that it requires a lot of work for him to come back to the truth if he's willing to listen to the truth. You're not going to be able to help him. Your sheikh is not going to be able to help him. Only he can help himself by God's permission.
say a Muslim is going through a severe calamity and they want to know the Islamic tools, the tools that Islam gives them in order to deal with that calamity. What should they do?
Well, this is the thing.
And the Shaykh said,
There's one tool when you're going through a calamity. That tool is what God gave you. It's the Quran. There are going to be set verses that you need to find and understand and implement. That does not mean that your mom is going to come back from death. That does not mean your cancer is going to get solved or that your money is going to come back to you. It's teaching you how to deal with the calamity. It's teaching you on how to have the correct thoughts and the correct assumption on how to deal the matter at hand. There is no other tool that is required at that moment because it's a problem within yourself. The reason why you're asking other people's during calamities is because of the internal or the external pain that you're going through, because humans don't like pain. It's very extremely funny, and I find it intriguing, that people don't have questions about religion when everything is going very well, because everything is going very well. But then they have questions about religion when things are not going very well. So it's all in your mentality on how you're handling these calamities. The Quran is the only answer. You might not have the correct interpretation, and that way you put it for everybody on who reads the Quran. What do you think about this verse? What do you think about this verse? But to go and listen to one person who's going to teach you on how to understand the Quran, you're in trouble.
said they need to be perpetually seeking knowledge in order to eventually have these questions answered. And I said to him, Sheikh, most Muslims in the West don't actually seek knowledge. So what should they do? And he said, well, in that case, they need to refer to their teacher, and whenever they have a question, they should ask their teacher. And I said to him, Sheikh, most Muslims in the West do not have a teacher.
Well, but here's the thing. You don't need a teacher to have a relationship with God, especially at a certain age. Because obviously if it's people his age and people my age, we do not need a teacher. We have a relationship with God. We don't need to put one man in the middle between me and God. But the concept of what ilm is, knowledge is, it's all these hidden gems that are outside of the Quran that you need to keep picking up and putting it in your head, and someone else will come pick it from you as well. It's not religious knowledge. None of it is a religious knowledge, because if it's required, then why is God hiding it all over the world and not telling us in the book that told us that will guide us to the straight path? Because this is what the religion has become. These hidden chores and these hidden rituals that if you do, it will happen your way because apparently the Prophet did it, which he didn't. And then there's all these other events that occurred outside the Quran that you need to go pick and find for you to understand the Quran, as long as someone's telling you what to understand. This is how cult work. This is how a cult would work. So his examples are just nonsense. It's nothing that the Quran can't solve on its own.
At that, the Shaykh went silent for a good 10-15 seconds, and then he said, what's stopping these Muslims from doing the things that Allah hates and avoiding the things that Allah loves? How do they know how to worship Allah properly if that's the case? He didn't know what to say, and I said, Sheikh, what else can they do? And he said, I don't know.
Well, the majority of the Muslims are not like that. That majority of the people that you meet, they know what's wrong, they know what's right, they know that they need to pray, they need to do the fasting, they need to go pilgrimage or visitation to the house if they can, and they need to be good people. That's it. I'm telling you, that's the cap they need to know. They don't need to know who the wives of the Prophet are, the 7, 9, 11 of them, or whoever it is. They don't need to understand the history of what happened with Abu Bakr or Umar and all this. They're just not concerned because they don't need it. To them, it's like, ooh, no. This is knowledge, and this is why you don't have the authority to speak about it. It's nonsense. Like the sheikh actually answered them the truth. Like they should already know what they be doing. So why aren't they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Well, actually they are, but they're just not adhering to what you want as your cult, where the woman needs to shut up and sit at the house and do nothing and no education, and she's just a sex machine, a baby machine. And then the other thing is you need to be a red-pilled like macho man walking around with a big beard and acting like, you know what, Islam is gonna happen by the sword, and I'm gonna be part of this crazy cult that's gonna take over the world and play a nasheed out loud. Nobody wants that nonsense.
So when it comes to your deen, you need to have some sort of outlet where you are studying with a teacher. I want you to imagine for a second a child and really, really think and reflect about this analogy.
Yep, you're a child, boy. In this analogy, you're the child.
I want you to imagine a child that aspires to be one of the greatest doctors that exists. Can that child scrap university, scrap school, scrap college, and scrap all education and do everything by himself? Can that child go onto YouTube and click onto every single video about how to become a doctor and then read every single book that that person can get his hands on to become a doctor eventually? You'd think no, absolutely not. Because
well, actually, this is a misconception that people like to present as an example, which is not very true. This might be true in the last 100 years or so, but for a very long time, people pioneered and took the sciences and arts to a next level, not by them going to universities and colleges, but by them learning the material by themselves, by God's permission. Most of the successful people in this world are not people that graduated from universities and colleges, but in fact, they went and taught themselves. This does apply to doctors, but yet you won't find a doctor that doesn't have a certificate, because these are become requirements for the hospital systems and this society. But somebody can learn how to be a doctor by watching YouTube and practicing on his own and reading the books that they need to read. This is something that God has allowed us to have, but this society is not accepting it nowadays. I myself, I'm a computer programmer, I'm a computer engineer for a very long time, and a time when I was supposed to be in university learning this stuff, the education system has not kept up with the technology that I was working and learning at the time, so it would have been useless for me to go to university and learn what I needed to learn in university. In fact, I had people who were PhDs working for me at certain times in my life where I knew more than what they knew because of just their formal training. Experience is what this world is about, and you need to experience yourself in the Quran for you to truly understand what the religion is. You sitting and listening to a teacher is not going to be very beneficial if you yourself is not understanding what you're listening to. And if you're not allowed to reason in your religion, then you're just becoming another echo chamber.
Because that child might end up reading a book where he's too young in his journey to understand that book. That child might come across videos that confuse him so much and make him even hate wanting to become a doctor because it's just too complex for him.
Yeah,
this child,
being a doctor is a complex task. Being someone who is a servant of God is not a complex task.
child needs to have a system that he follows through with in order to build him step by step at the hands of teachers that have been through the process, so that he builds the blocks one after the other until he becomes a qualified doctor, right? Being a
You understand his analogy. Like, for you to be somebody who understands your religion is on par with you being a doctor. In this day and age, doctors need at least 10 years of studying. For you to understand your religion, you need 10 years of studying, which is far from the truth. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. And they were not ordered except to serve God monotheistically or wholeheartedly, right? And to do the prayer and to give the purifications. That's the religion. How you're applying it, yes, there's wisdom and there is art to it. But what he's saying, comparing it to a doctor, means only like what? What's the percentage of the world that's capable of being a doctor? That's the percentage of the world that's capable of following God's religion. Like, that's crazy analogy.
Muslim is the exact same. You cannot use Google to answer your questions. You cannot just read books as your only source of knowledge. You cannot just watch YouTube videos about topics that come up in your mind, because in the exact same way that that child cannot become a doctor by doing it by himself, you definitely cannot do it by yourself, especially considering the entire tradition of Islam passed down, because the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions, who taught the tabi'een, who taught the tabi'een, and so on for 1400 years until Islam reached us.
That's the same lies Christians say to each other, okay? That's the same lies that Christians repeat to each other, that we all been passed down, trickled down this religion, which they try to attribute back to the Prophet. But the Prophet literally told you one thing. You know what he told you? I got you a book from God. It's the Quran. Learn it, read it, understand it, and apply it. That's it. That's all the Prophet wanted from you. But you guys tried to complicate it, that the Sahabas gave the Tabi'een and the Tabi'een. And as time goes on, right? As time goes on, give your cult another 1,000 years, there's going to be another 1,000 scholars that people have to read for them to become religious scholars. Because as time goes on, your religion becomes more complex and more complicated because there's more heads in the image. There's more heads in the picture. There's more scholars that you need to understand, because people at the beginning, at the times of the Tabi'een or the generation after the Tabi'een, they didn't need to concern themselves with Ghazali, and they didn't need to concern themselves with Albani, and they did not need to concern themselves with Fawzan and all these other people that came up later. But now, after 1,000 years, you do have to concern yourself with Ghazali, and you do have to concern yourself with Albani, and you do have to concern yourself with all these other weird names that people have no need to understand. But to you, this is ilm, this is knowledge, this is what it's about, this is how you become a Muslim. Nope.
Today, we cannot do it by ourselves because they couldn't do it by themselves. We all need a teacher. But the reality is we live in a crazy time today where truly there is a lack of availability of teachers. And that's why I've put together Muslim Lighthouse as a solution for you as you go on to find your actual teacher that you can study with face to face, inshallah ta'ala. Muslim Lighthouse is an online community institute, all in one, whatever you want to call it, where you are provided with a teacher, but you also have the ability to interact with students from all over the world. Alhamdulillah, we have pretty much everything you need, right? We have multiple courses that cover all the sciences in Islam, and we're working towards that, inshallah, that will build your knowledge in Islam holistically. Look at this review from Deepak, who said that he fell in love with Islam as a result of what we do. Look at this review from Sister Alicia, who said this was the first time she cried in her prayer as a result of joining the classes and watching the courses in Muslim Lighthouse. Look at this review from Sister Aisha that said she literally completely transformed into a different person at the hands of having guidance through guided learning, right?
Okay, so cool. So he has this website, Muslim Lighthouse, and he's giving you the reviews, right? So those people that talked about how much they benefited from your platform, well, you got your reward. Your reward is right here, $37 a month. That was your reward. That's what you asked God for. Is God, I'm going to present the information what I believe is Islam. I just want $37 a month for something that's hosted on obviously a free platform called Discord, because I could see the Discord in front of me, right? And then the other thing is, this website itself was made by Canva, okay? Canva is a company that allows you to make websites using their templates, and you put it together and you can host it. They'll do the hosting for you for a set price. But Canva does not allow Palestinian voices to be heard worldwide, and Palestinians cannot make websites for Canva if it has something to do with protesting the Zionists or supporting the BDS. That's not something that Canva will allow. So again, you, just like Hakikachu, who wants to make an online platform because you don't know what you're doing when it comes down to the online world, you're just going to give your money to people that are not supporting your cause, are not supporting God's cause, and want to support the Zionists, and they don't care that the Zionist is on their platform. This is what you've done. So the mistake that could cause your akhirah is maybe you are over your head in what you're doing, and maybe all these reviews that you already got paid for.